Welcome my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated, and you arrive at a rather distressing time in the history of Syrupvaults, our most prized possession. Distancebristles, the Adventure of Infernos, an artifact coat, has been stolen. One of the dwarves in our fort was corrupted by an evil influence, and, during a live Twitch stream, much to my horror, they seized the coat and took it to the edge of the map where it was dropped, and it is now no longer in our stocks, and it is no longer in our objects list. Distancebristles is gone. Now, in the pre-Steam version of Dwarf Fortress, what you could have done is loaded up Legends mode, checked where the artifact was, and then loaded into Adventure mode, and gone off on a quest to retrieve the item. Now, I have loaded up Legends mode, but it's not telling me much about where Distancebristles is located at the moment. The last information we have on it is that it was in Syrupvaults 3 years ago. That's not much of a help. But by looking at the accounts of the main players in this conspiracy, I have an idea as to where they may have taken Distancebristles. Quite often, there's no other alternative, but loading up Legends mode and getting information in this way is sometimes seen as cheating. So I want to see if I can use the tools that Fortress mode has to locate Distancebristles. I'm not confident, but it will give me a good excuse to take a look at the world map and to go over the different types of missions that are available in Dwarf Fortress. The world map can be accessed by pressing Shift and Y or by pressing the button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and it will bring you to the world map. Clicking Center on Fort will bring you to your fort, which is highlighted in yellow. Quite often around it you're going to see forts or other areas in dark blue. These represent other forts from your civilization. And those in light blue represent areas that are economically connected to you. Syrupvaults is the capital of its civilization, and as it was on the rise, areas were established around it which were economically linked to it. In green are our human allies, and in orange are the goblin and elf enemies that we are currently at war with. So those factions that are green we are allied to, orange we are at war with, blue, dark blue are part of our civilization, light blue are economically connected to us, and in grey are regions that we know nothing about. These are regions that we have no contact with, and I am hoping that by changing that, we may glean some knowledge of where Distancebristles has gone to. Under the Missing Citizens tab on the right, we can see that we actually have a missing citizen. Cadal Helmbar, who was kidnapped from Syrupvaults many moons ago. Now, their last known location was Cloak Scorpions. I can click on the name to start a rescue mission. I can assign one of the militia squads. We'll assign the Battle Birds. And that's all that needs to be done. They have now been given their instructions to go and rescue Cadal from Cloak Scorpions. However, we can see that as the militia reaches the edge of the map to leave and travel to Cloak Scorpions, that mission ends and they return back to the fort. This would indicate to me that Cadal probably isn't in Cloak Scorpions anymore. It's possible that they've died, or that they have been moved to a new location. To make sure that Cadal isn't at Cloak Scorpions, I'm going to send a militia squad there to burn it to the ground. We have 3 options for attacking another site. Raid, which will allow the squad to go in and try to avoid detection. Pillage, in which they will attack openly, or Raze, where they will again openly attack the site but also attempt to destroy it. When we select one of these, we have 5 more options across the bottom for what we want to do if the militia is successful. And these can be toggled on and off. Free captives belonging to your civilization, well, we'll leave that on, as we are hoping to rescue Cadal if they are there. Release other prisoners, take important treasures like artifacts and books, loot other items, and steal livestock. Multiple squads can be assigned to a single mission. I'm just going to assign the Battle Birds, and off they go. Now, once they reach the edge of the map, you'll see that they will disappear, and this travelling icon will appear in their place on the squad's menu. As the battlebirds head north, I'm going to look to the west, to the Dwarven Tower of Grotharingd. This means that it is a necromancer tower, and it is rumoured to contain a number of artifacts. So I'm going to send Fear of Cats, our axe dwarves, and Sound of Bolts, our marks dwarves, on a raid. They're going to try and avoid detection, and I'm just going to have them take the important treasures located there. It's important to note that when the dwarves leave your fort on a mission, the population is going to drop. So if a squad of 10 dwarves leave, then the population is going to drop by 10. It's also going to unassign any rooms that have been assigned to them. So for example, if you have a militia captain that you have assigned a prestigious bedroom or a dining room to, or if something like your dungeon master is part of one of the squads, when they leave on a mission, all the rooms that were assigned to them will be unassigned. It's also important to note that your dwarves, even if they've left the map, they won't actually set out for their destination until every single member of the attacking squad has left the map. Here is a member of the Sound of Bolts who is making torturously slow progress towards the edge of the map, and they'd actually almost gotten to the edge of the map at one stage when they decided to turn around and get some equipment. This means that the attack on Grotharingd has not yet begun. It actually means that they haven't even set out from Syrupvaults, and they won't do so until this dwarf finally leaves the screen. When the dwarves return, you're going to get a notification on the left-hand side of the screen, which can be easy to miss if you have a lot of visitors to your fort, and you're going to see the population go back up. This actually counts as a brand new migration wave, and it will show up as such in Dwarf Therapist. On the world map, we will now have some information in the Reports tab as to how the mission progressed. Unread reports will be highlighted, and by clicking on the mission report for Raise Cloak Scorpions, we will see the path that our dwarves took to reach Cloak Scorpions will be drawn in, and then we will receive an update detailing some of the major events of the attack, who the commanders on either side were, who faced off against each other, and often if important items are raided, they're going to appear here. And you can right-click on the report to make it appear immediately. There's also a spoils report which shows which items we have looted from Cloak Scorpions, and we managed to get... well, it's better than nothing, I suppose. You will note, however, that the mission was to raise Cloak Scorpions, to burn it to the ground, and Cloak Scorpion still stands. We were successful, we didn't lose any forces, but we didn't achieve our main objective. It can be a bit random if your main goal is to raise an area, it can be a bit random as to whether or not it is raised, and often takes more than one attempt. And it looks like the attempt to stealthily infiltrate Grotharingd has also failed, as we're getting a battle report. We lost 2 dogs to the necromancers, but we're also seeing some hefty battles. 1 dog faced off against 11 animated elves. The Fear of Cats faced off against 9 animated dwarves. There's also 26 animated goblins and 8 animated humans. So even though we were told that the population of Grotharingd was less than 10, that's less than 10 living inhabitants. And quite often when you attack necromancer towers, there can be dozens, if not hundreds, of undead animated creatures at the disposal of the necromancer there, so it's always wise to be cautious when you are attacking forts like this. So our units failed to infiltrate the fort, and they failed to take possession of any of the artifacts there, but they haven't come back empty-handed. No, they've been followed by one of the necromancers, who very helpfully showed me that it's not a great idea to put the corpse stockpile so close to the front of the fort. He resurrected 3 elves who were killed on a recent raid, and even though they were put down easily enough, Aban, the necromancer, managed to run off the screen before we could have a chat with him. Syrupvaults is 17 years old, and this is the first necromancer assault that we have had, so possibly Our failed attack on Grotharingd has angered the necromancers there, and potentially, going forward, we might see more attacks from that direction. Well, you know how the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, third time's a charm, or something. Past Dwelling is another necromancer tower far to the north. It's a human necromancer tower, and I've sent the hammer dwarves, the battle birds, north to raze it to the ground and take any artifacts that they can find there, and finally we have success. The tower contained a number of bizarre creatures and demons, yet we managed to see them off, and a second report relating to the razing of the tower tells us that we were successful and that we looted a number of written works. Now on the world map we can see that Past Dwelling is no longer shown. The area has been destroyed. If you're so inclined, this report can be used to figure out which new written materials have been added to your fort, and to take a quick look at them to make sure that none of them contain the secrets of life and death, especially as this is a necromancer tower that we've just raided. If a book containing the secrets of life and death gets into the library, any dwarf who reads it will become a necromancer. Now maybe that's what you want, an entire fort that will never again need to eat, need to sleep, or need to drink. Then again, if you can't drink, what's the point in being immortal? It can be difficult to micromanage books, so if any do get into the fort that contain the secrets of life and death, probably the best thing to do is just forbid them. It is forbidden knowledge, after all. So that's how we attack other sites and raid them for books and artifacts. Why were we raiding other sites for books and artifacts again? Oh yeah, we're trying to find Distancebristles. So the main missions here that I think might actually be of help to us in achieving that goal are Demand One-Time Tribute and Demand Ongoing Tribute. Now Syrupvaults is outraged at the loss of Distancebristles, and so we are going to begin to force our authority onto the surrounding dwarven civilizations. Far to the west is Syrupvaults, which I think is the capital of this region. It might be one of the forts a bit further to the south, but we are going to send out one of the militia squads to demand ongoing tribute from Syrupvaults. And when our militia returns, they bring news that Syrupvaults has accepted our demands. They will now contribute tribute to us each spring. A caravan will arrive at the fort with something nice, I hope. Demanding tribute is pretty much the only way of making contact with other civilizations other than going to war with them. And hopefully, this will in future see traders arrive from this civilization as well as the tribute caravan, and those traders will share rumors from their side of the world, hopefully bringing us one step closer to locating Distancebristles. Demanding tribute can also be a way of enforcing peace on regions that you are at war with. So if we were to demand tribute from the elves or the goblins, then that would possibly bring us to a state of peace. But you know what? I enjoy the elven forays into our territory. It gives me timber crap to sell when caravans do arrive. The last two options that we have involve conquest and occupation, and these can be used to occupy regions that do not belong to your civilization. Taking a look at the world map, we can see to the northeast is the elven fortress of Guildirons. As this is a fortress, it was founded by dwarves, and it was actually taken over by humans at some stage, according to Legends mode, and it was then conquered off of the humans by the elves. So this is an affront to dwarven kind, to see one of our fortresses fall, even to humans, never mind elves. This must be corrected. By sending out a militia, we can either conquer and occupy the site, or we can demand the surrender and occupy the site. And selecting either of these two options gives us a warning that if we are successful, the soldiers will join the occupation and not return. For the purposes here, I'm going to send out Fear of Cats on the mission to conquer and occupy Guildirons. Unlike the other missions, we receive a pop-up in the center of the screen. At the conclusion of the mission, we are told that Guild Irons has been seized, and we're then told that after a polite discussion with local rivals, Bear Theatre Arrows has claimed the position of administrator of the Pleated Vessel. In the battle report, we're going to see that the Pleated Vessel is the new name of the Dwarven government of Guild Irons. Bear was our dungeon master prior to this and was not the militia captain, so it's not going to be guaranteed who becomes the expedition leader when you conquer an area. Now, we received a warning before we began this occupation that the militia would not be returning and that they would instead be becoming members of the occupation. We can, however, get some of them back. On the nobles screen, we have the position of messenger, and I'm going to appoint Toulon as our messenger, and I'm going to send them to Guild Irons to summon some of the members back to the fort. Now, Bear is never going to be an option for us. They are the administrator, they're the expedition leader of Guild Irons. They will never return. However, other members of the militia are available, and when they return to the fort, they return with all the items that they left with. Here is Zugler, the militia captain, still equipped with the artifact axe that I gave him. 10 members of the militia set out for Guild Irons, and we weren't given an option to summon all of them back. I'm not too sure what this means. Maybe some of them died, or maybe they have already moved on to other locations. But we can use messengers to travel to any fort that is economically linked to us and that has free and available workers and summon them to our fort. Hovering over the workers shows you their available skills, so maybe if there is something that you are lacking in your fort, maybe a jeweler or a metalsmith or a weaponsmith, you can see if any of the surrounding economically linked forts has one, or this could also be useful if you are recovering from a particularly bad visit from a forgotten beast. So that pretty much covers all that you can do on the world map in terms of missions. Some of the other tabs can also be of use. The Civilizations tab can be used to remind you of the civilizations that are in contact with you and what trade negotiations you have made with them for the next trade caravan. So if you've forgotten what exactly those humans wanted, was it Windows or... wait, no, it was Windows last time. What do they want this time? Well, you can go and you can check on the Civilizations tab and it will tell you what they have demanded from you for the next trade. The Artifacts tab will of course tell you the rumoured location or the last known location of artifacts. There's no way of searching through this at the moment, so it's kind of cumbersome. And news and rumours will contain the various different tales that have been shared with you by visiting diplomats or overheard from drunken poets in the tavern. Clicking on this tab will show crossed swords on the map indicating the march of armies, and it will also highlight some cities where you might find out about recent appointments to various positions or possibly even the presence of artifacts. And it is my hope that one day a site will light up to tell me that Distancebristles is located there. If you want to see what tribute Ropefreckle sends to me, or if you want to see if I ever do find Distancebristles, do check the link below in the description for my Twitch channel where I'll be streaming Dwarf Fortress, and tell me in the comments what you use missions for. Did you even know this tab existed until watching this video? Do you send out your militia to collect all of the artifacts and written material in the world to keep them in safekeeping at your fort? Or do you simply burn everything around you, leaving only you and your civilization? Thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope you found it helpful, and please, tell your artifacts that you love them. You'll miss them when they're gone.